What is going on, everybody? In this video, I want to talk about the three dark horse contenders to win the 2025 National Championship. I have chosen three teams that are outside of the top five in odds to win the National Championship, and these three teams could make a sneaky run in the playoffs and possibly win the National Championship game. There's 12 teams in this college football playoff, and there's a lot of teams with weaknesses, and it's absolutely wide open. So there could certainly be a team that makes a sneaky run and shocks the world. Now let's start off with my first dark horse contender. And my first dark horse national title contender is Notre Dame. They are right outside the top five in odds to win the national championship. They have the sixth best odds to win the Natty. So in my eyes, they aren't really a dark horse contender. I think they are a legit contender. But other people don't take this Notre Dame team seriously. They had that bad loss to Northern Illinois, and I could totally understand that. But let's talk about this Notre Dame team and why they can win the national championship. I think one of the main reasons this Notre Dame team can win the national championship is because of their dominant rushing attack and the leadership that they have on this team, and it starts with a quarterback like Riley Leonard, who has absolutely stepped up his game. He had 2 interceptions in that Northern Illinois loss. He didn't have a great game. He was struggling at the start of the year. But ever since that Northern Illinois loss, that offense has been rolling. Riley Leonard had 0 passing touchdowns and 2 interceptions in his first 3 games. But in his last 9 games, he has had 16 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions, and he's had a very good completion percentage in the high 60s. He does not have out-of-this-world passing stats. He usually only has around 200 passing yards a game. But it is not just his passing game that helps this offense out. It's what he can do on the ground, and he has ran for over 700 yards as a quarterback this year. He's ran for 14 touchdowns this season. He has just been an excellent leader, and he's been very responsible for this Notre Dame team playing very consistent football and having the largest margin of victory in the country. Notre Dame's offense has had issues in the past, and it has held them back, but they have been playing their best football lately. In their last 4 or 5 games, they have scored 49 plus points. That includes a road win over USC where they played really good offensively. They also have an excellent pair of running backs with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. They have combined for 1,600 rushing yards and 22 touchdowns on the ground. They are averaging over 7 yards a carry, which is really good and near the top of the country. The offensive line has been a huge positive with this team. Even with a true freshman offensive lineman starting, this offensive line is young, but they've been playing really well this year. The only thing that concerns me on offense is their lack of skill position players. But a guy like Bo Collins has been stepping up lately, and they have a really good tight end in Mitchell Evans, who is an absolute playmaker, and he needs to be used more in the college football playoffs. And if you look at the defense, they're one of the best in the country at forcing turnovers. They're just a really good defensive team. They are top 3 in the country in points per game allowed. They have an excellent leader in the secondary with Xavier Watts. They are lacking the depth in the secondary without Benjamin Morrison. Their secondary got torched a bit against USC. But every team has had weaknesses this year, and no team has been perfect. And Notre Dame has just been dominant and find ways to win big every week. And I totally think this is a team that can make a run in the postseason and possibly win the national championship game. So Notre Dame is my first dark horse contender. My second dark horse contender is Tennessee. They are also outside of the top 5 odds to win the national championship game. A lot of people are sleeping on them because they actually have the toughest path to make the national championship game. If you think about it, they would have to beat Ohio State on the road tomorrow, and then they would have to beat Oregon and probably play Texas in the semifinals, and then they would also have to win the national championship game, and that's very tough. So Tennessee has an absolute gauntlet. They never could beat the elite teams. They struggled against Georgia, and their defense collapsed. But I have to give this Tennessee team the recognition. It's pretty simple with this team. They play very good defense, and they have one of the top rushing attacks in the nation. Running back Dylan Sampson has ran for 1,500 yards with over 250 carries and 22 touchdowns. He is an absolute beast and one of the best running backs in the country. They don't have a problem running the ball, and the defense hasn't been too big of an issue. The offense was a big concern throughout this year. It cost them a game against Arkansas. They had multiple halves where they didn't score any points. But I will say they have momentum heading into the playoffs because they put up 30 plus points against Vanderbilt and they played a good offensive game. A lot is going to have to be on the shoulders of young Nico Iamaleava if this team wants to make a run. but in that Vanderbilt game, he had over 250 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Dante Thornton stepped up and had over 100 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns, and they really needed that out of him. They need a playmaker or a couple of playmakers to step up, and this passing game needs to be elevated, and it needs to continue to get better. Because if Nico Imaliava can get comfortable in that offense and they can have a good passing attack, they can be a dangerous team. They have struggled in the red zone this year. They've struggled with field goals, but this is a team that could be dangerous if the offense can remain consistent and pass the ball well. But like I said, a lot of that relies on the young Nico Iamaleava, who needs to step up. But there is no bigger way to get a confidence booster than beating Ohio State on the road and finding a way to score points on a very good Ohio State defense. Like I said, the college football playoff is wide open and the playing field is very even. Tennessee would have a brutal path to make it, but you never know. All it might take is for Josh Heupel to draw up some magic and get that offense going and playing very well, and they could be a dangerous team in the college football playoff. They have a strong front seven, one of the best in the country, definitely with a guy on the edge like James Pierce Jr. They will be able to compete up front with other teams. They are good at the line of scrimmage, they play good defense, they run the ball super well. But they need more from quarterback Nico Iamaleava, so I'm going to say it again. A lot relies on his shoulders if this team wants to make a run. But regardless, this team is my second dark horse contender to win the national championship game. Now for this third team, I am swinging for the fences and going big. For my third dark horse national title contender, I am going with Arizona State. They are also outside of the top 5 odds to win the national championship. They are one of the teams at the bottom in the odds to win the Natty. So it would be an absolute shocker if Arizona State won it all. Look, I could have went with Boise State because they have a beast at running back in Ashton Jeanty, just like Arizona State. But I think Arizona State has the better all-around team. They faced better competition this year and the defense has been playing better. And I think they have a decent young quarterback in Sam Levitt. And they also have a very underrated receiver in Jordan Tyson, who has over 1,000 receiving yards on the season, and he is an absolute monster. This offense has playmakers, and that's why they can be dangerous. The defense continues to get better every week, and they also have a first-round bye, which could really help them. It's really hard for me to believe that this Arizona State team could beat a team like Texas in the second round or beat a team like Oregon. But they have been playing really good football lately. They beat Iowa State by a lot, and they also dominated Arizona. They've been on a winning streak, and they have some quality wins, including a win over BYU and Kansas State, who were both ranked. This Arizona State offense has been consistent this year, but the defense has been stepping up, and they are turning out to be a well-balanced team. We'll see how they shape up against better teams because the Big 12 isn't necessarily a dominant conference, but they have certainly been the most dominant and consistent team in the Big 12 as of lately. They won the Big 12 and they are 11-2. Both their losses come earlier in the season. Arizona State is also a young and motivated team. They might just be the most motivated team in the college football playoffs. Kenny Dillingham really has this team fired up, and they've been playing really good lately. They have playmakers on this team offensively and defensively, and they have one of the best running backs in the nation, probably the second best running back in the nation, and Cam Scatabo. He is going to be a difference maker for this team in the college football playoffs. He is an absolute beast. He's ran for over 1,500 yards and 19 touchdowns. But he's also like a receiver for this team. He's the only running back in the nation with over 1,000 rushing yards and 500 receiving yards, and he also has 3 receiving touchdowns. That really helps this Arizona State team out. They have kind of like another receiver with Cam Scatabo, and they have an excellent go-to receiver in Jordan Tyson. They have the pieces on offense, and the defense continues to get better. So Arizona State is my third dark horse contender to win the national championship. I think they've been on a roll lately, and I think they could be dangerous if they continue to get better and better every week. And maybe they find a way to upset Texas or Clemson in the second round of the playoffs. But there you have it. Those are my 3 dark horse contenders to win the 2025 national championship. There's also other teams in this playoff that could make a run like Indiana, SMU, Clemson, maybe Boise State. But this is just my opinion of the 3 teams that have the most realistic chance of winning the national championship. I don't see it with Indiana. I don't think they are built at the line of scrimmage. I don't see it with Boise State. Outside of Ashton Jeanty, they don't have a great team around him. They are a good team, but I don't think they're good enough to beat the other teams around them. SMU has been good, but I like Arizona State over SMU personally. I just don't trust that Clemson offense, so I don't think they are a dark horse contender. But yeah, this is just my opinion. But you guys let me know your 3 dark horse national title contenders down in the comments below. But let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing. And also consider checking out my socials down in the description below. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.